The cake sits untouched in front of me at the Ritz-Carlton's Grand Ballroom. 21 perfect candles burning down to stubs while the entire room erupts in a chorus of congratulations directed at my brother, Mason. I watch the flames dance, counting each second until they melt into the pristine white frosting, much like my own celebration has melted into his latest triumph. I'm Autumn Hayes. Today is my 21st birthday, and I'm watching my parents throw a celebration for my brother's prestigious investment banking internship at Goldman Sachs. Make a toast to the future of finance. My father's voice booms across the crystal chandeliered room, his hand clasped proudly on Mason's shoulder, the same shoulder sporting a $3,000 Tom Ford suit, while I'm wearing a dress I found at a vintage store with my barista tips. This is such a milestone moment, my mother gushes, her perfectly applied MAC Ruby Woo lipstick gleaming under the spotlights. Goldman Sachs Elite Internship Program. We always knew you were destined for Wall Street greatness, darling. I grip my sterling silver fork until my knuckles turn white, the metal cool against my palm as the room spins with congratulatory cheers from banking executives and family friends. Aunt Carol is dabbing her eyes with a Hermes silk handkerchief. Uncle Steve is already talking about his hedge fund connections. My cousin Sophie catches my eye from across the room, her expression mirroring my disgust at this display of calculated affection. Speech, someone calls out, and Mason stands, flashing that perfect Stanford MBA smile that's opened every door he's ever encountered. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight, he begins, and I can't help but notice how he's positioned himself in front of my happy birthday banner, my banner, that mother hastily covered with "Congratulations future Goldman Sachs associate" streamers this morning. The words bubble up before I can stop them, interesting timing for this career celebration. The room goes quiet. Mother's smile freezes, that practiced expression she uses when maintaining her corporate wife image. Autumn, dear, let's not what, mother? Not mention that it's my birthday? Or not mention how you converted my celebration into Mason's networking event? My voice carries across the now silent ballroom, causing several Goldman Sachs executives to shift uncomfortably in their chairs. You're being dramatic, Father cuts in, his CEO tone sharp and commanding. This is a significant milestone for Hayes Investment Group. The company? I laugh, and it sounds hollow against the crystal chandeliers. You mean, for Mason? Everything's always for Mason and the precious family business. Mason, still standing at the podium, at least has the decency to look uncomfortable. Sis, please don't sis me. I stand up, my chair scraping against the marble floor. The sound echoes through the ballroom like a gunshot. 21 years of watching you get everything while I get the leftovers. Did you know I got accepted into the State University's creative writing program? Of course not, because when I told them last week, they were too busy planning this corporate PR event. That's enough. Father's face is turning red, clashing with his Hermes tie. You're embarrassing the Hayes name. This family embarrasses itself, I snap back. The great Harrison and Victoria Hayes, so focused on their golden boy and their precious investment firm, they forgot they had a daughter. Well, congratulations. You finally pushed me past my limit. Mother steps forward, her Louboutins clicking against the marble floor, her voice trembling with barely contained rage. If you can't appreciate what we've built for this family, perhaps you should what? Leave? Is that what you want to say, Mother? Finally get rid of the disappointing barista daughter who doesn't fit your corporate image? If that's how you feel, Father says coldly, shooting apologetic glances at his business associates, there's the door. The ballroom holds its breath. I look around at the faces, some shocked, some embarrassed, some carefully neutral behind their champagne flutes. Only Sophie and my grandmother, Eleanor, show any sign of understanding. Fine. I grab my thrifted vintage clutch from the gold-trimmed table. Happy birthday to me. And good luck with that Goldman internship, Mason. I hope it was worth the price of a sister. Autumn. Mason calls after me, but I'm already pushing through the heavy gilded doors of the Ritz-Carlton ballroom. The spring air hits my face in the hotel's courtyard, carrying the scent of meticulously maintained roses, the same flowers Mason got to practice arranging for his prep school's flower club, while I worked morning shifts at the Daily Grind to afford my creative writing workshops. My phone buzzes. It's Lily, my coworker from the cafe. Did you do it? Did you finally stand up to the Hayes dynasty? I text back with shaking fingers, it's done. The entire Goldman Sachs investment division just watched me torch my trust fund. Can I crash at your place? Her response is immediate, already setting up the futon in my studio. And Autumn? I've been making your favorite lavender latte for the past year. You deserve better than being their corporate footnote. I take one last look at the Ritz-Carlton, at its perfect marble columns and the perfect valet line of luxury cars, hiding the perfectly crafted lie of the Hayes family legacy. Something shifts inside me, a switch flipping from hurt to determination. They want me gone from their corporate fairy tale? Fine. But they're about to learn that the daughter they never wanted is the one they should have feared the most. Lily's tiny studio apartment in Brooklyn feels like a life raft in a storm of designer labels and corporate expectations. 3 days since I walked out of the Ritz, and the silence of not having to measure every word against potential shareholder impact is almost deafening. I sit cross-legged on the borrowed futon, staring at my phone's black screen, counting the LinkedIn notifications I'm not getting from the Hayes family network. Earth to autumn, Lily says, leaning against the exposed brick wall with 2 mismatched coffee mugs. Your pour-over is getting cold, and your Daily Grind uniform is getting wrinkled. I smooth out the black apron laid across the futon. Sorry, just thinking about, don't. She hands me the coffee, served in a chipped mug that says World's Okayest Barista. That's your 3rd time almost mentioning them today. We're focusing on your future as a writer, remember? The coffee burns my tongue, but I welcome the pain. It's better than the hollow feeling in my chest. The morning shift at the Daily Grind starts in 2 hours. I should probably, my phone buzzes. Grandmother Eleanor's name lights up the screen. Autumn, darling, are you safe? I'm okay, Gran. I'm staying with Lily from the cafe. Good girl. Listen carefully. I've been waiting for you to finally stand up to them. There are things you need to know about Hayes Investment Group, but not over the phone. Can you meet me at Bryant Park tomorrow, our usual spot by the fountain? Before I can respond, I hear Mother's perfectly modulated voice in the background. Eleanor quickly adds, I have to go. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock, and hangs up. Lily raises an eyebrow over her coffee first, questions later mug. That sounded cryptic. Gran's always been different from the rest of them. She actually sees me as more than a PR liability. I stand up, straightening my black Daily Grind apron. But right now, I need this job. I can't keep crashing here without contributing. Please. As if I'd let you pay rent when your stories about pretentious Wall Street customers keep me entertained. Lily throws a thrifted throw pillow at me. But you're right about the job. You need your own money if you're really cutting ties with the Hayes empire. The Daily Grind sits on a prime corner of Chelsea, its exposed brick facade and artisanal coffee sent a world away from the sterile corporate towers where Mason interns. Inside the break room, the manager Sarah is reviewing my schedule. Your application shows real attention to detail, Sarah says, but there's a gap in your references. No family contacts? I meet her eyes steadily. I prefer to keep my professional and personal life separate. Especially since my last name might complicate things in this neighborhood. She nods, something knowing in her expression. Fair enough. The morning rush needs someone who can handle themselves without family connections. When can you start? Walking out with a confirmed schedule and my own set of keys, I almost miss Mason leaning against my second-hand Volkswagen Beetle, a far cry from his Mercedes-AMG gift from graduation. Nice sustainability statement, he says, tapping the rusty fender of my car, trying to sound casual despite his Goldman Sachs badge still hanging around his neck. Better than contributing to the carbon footprint with German luxury cars, I guess. What do you want, future Wall Street wolf? To talk. You're still my sister, Autumn. Funny. I don't remember you mentioning that during your networking speech. He runs a hand through his investor-perfect hair, a nervous tic I recognized from our childhood before media training ironed it out. Look, I didn't know they were going to hijack your sister's birthday for a corporate PR event. I tried to tell them it wasn't right. I unlock my car door, the old metal creaking in protest. Save it. You've never had to try for anything in your life, Mason. Everything's just handed to you while I make lattes for trust fund kids. Did you know they promised to pay for my university too? Funny how that money disappeared right when your Stanford MBA deposits were due. His face pales slightly beneath his perfect tan. That's not, I didn't know exactly how the finances, you never know, because you never have to look beyond your Goldman Sachs desk. Must be nice in that glass tower of yours. Mom and Dad are worried about the company image. They want you to come home. I laugh, and it sounds bitter like over-extracted espresso. Home? That stopped being my home the day they decided I was worth less than their precious Hayes investment group. Tell them I said thanks for the birthday gift. Clarity looks good on me, even in a barista uniform. As I drive away, my phone buzzes with a text from Sophie, found something in Uncle Harrison's executive suite. You need to see these investment records. Can you meet tonight? I glance in my rearview mirror. Mason's still standing there, looking lost in his bespoke suit, for maybe the first time in his privileged life. Good. Let him feel a fraction of what I've felt for years, watching the Hayes empire build itself on broken promises. Tomorrow I'll meet Gran and hear whatever corporate secrets she needs to reveal. Tonight I'll see what Sophie's found. The pieces are moving, and for once, I'm not just another asset in someone's investment portfolio. Lily's waiting when I get back to her studio, holding a cupcake from the artisanal bakery next to the daily grind. Got the morning shift. Start tomorrow at 5. I take the cupcake but don't eat it, watching the hand-piped frosting slowly droop in the warmth. Lily, I need to ask you something. If this gets ugly, really ugly with the Hayes Investment Group, are you sure you want to be involved? She takes my hand, squeezing it tight, her barista calluses matching mine. Honey, I've watched them treat you like a failed investment for years. It's about time someone showed them not everything has a market value. I squeeze back, thinking of Gran's cryptic call and Sophie's message about the investment records. Then let's get started. The morning air bites at my face as I hurry through Bryant Park. Gran's already at our usual spot by the fountain, her silver hair elegant against her Burberry scarf. She's holding a thick manila envelope, her manicured fingers trembling slightly as she grips it. You look tired, darling, she says as I sit beside her, the fountain's mist cooling my coffee-warmed skin. First week at the new job? Everything hurts except my pride. I try to smile, but Gran's expression stops me. What's wrong? She presses the envelope into my hands. These are copies of documents I found in your father's executive suite last year. investment portfolios, transfer records, offshore accounts, the truth about your trust fund. Inside are bank statements dating back 5 years. My fingers go numb as I scan the numbers. This can't be right. There's over $200,000 here marked for Educational Trust. Your grandfather set up educational trusts for both you and Mason before he died, equal amounts. Gran's voice hardens like steel. Your father was supposed to be the trustee until you turned 21. Yesterday. Instead, he's been using Hayes Investment Group to hide systematic fund transfers. The world tilts sideways on its axis. But they said they couldn't afford my writing program tuition. That's why I had to take this barista job. They transferred your money to Mason's portfolio, gradually, over years, private school tuition, business school prep programs, that ridiculous Mercedes. She takes my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. I tried to stop it, but Harrison threatened to remove my board position if I interfered. I've been gathering evidence ever since. My phone buzzes. Sophie calling. I ignore it, my hands shaking as I flip through more documents. Does Mason know about these trust manipulations? No. He's as much a victim of their financial engineering as you are, just in a different way. They've made him dependent on the company, entitled, another asset in their portfolio. Another buzz. Sophie again. This time I answer. Autumn, thank God. You need to get to Hayes Investment Group right now. Your father found out I was in his executive suite. He's destroying everything. My heart stops. What do you mean, destroying? Financial records, offshore account details, everything. He knows someone's been looking into the trust fund transfers. He's having a complete meltdown in the executive suite. Gran grabs my arm. Go now. I'll make copies of these documents. And Autumn? Remember, you're not just fighting for your trust fund anymore. This is about every investment they've ever manipulated. I drive like someone with nothing left to lose, reaching the Hayes Investment Group tower in record time. Sophie meets me at the employee entrance, her face pale beneath her designer makeup. They're in the executive suite. Your mom's trying to calm him down, but a crash from the 50th floor cuts her off. We race up together in the private elevator, finding the mahogany double doors locked. Open this door. I pound on the wood, my barista muscles proving useful. I know what you did with my trust fund. Silence falls inside the corner office. Then my father's voice, eerily calm, you don't understand anything about corporate finance, Autumn. I understand enough. $200,000, Dad. My future. You funneled it through Hayes Investment Group. We invested it in your brother's future, the company's future. Mother's voice, now strained beneath its perfect elocution. Everything we did was for this family's legacy. No, I say, my voice steady despite the rage burning in my chest. Everything you did was for Mason and your precious investment firm. And now every shareholder's going to know. The doors fly open. Father stands there, investment papers scattered around his Armani shoes, a wastepaper basket smoldering with half-burned documents. You wouldn't dare destroy this firm's reputation. You already did that yourself. I hold up my phone, recording. And now I have proof of your trust fund manipulations. His face contorts. You ungrateful, Harrison stops as Sophie slips past him into the office, quickly gathering fallen documents. Mother grabs his arm as he steps toward me, her Cartier bracelets jingling. For the first time, I see fear crack through her corporate wife veneer. I'm done covering for Hayes Investment Group, Sophie announces, clutching a stack of papers. This ends now, Uncle Harrison. You're both making a terrible mistake, Mother says, but her voice wavers like a bad investment. I laugh, and it sounds like breaking glass in the marble-lined office. No, the mistake was thinking you could get away with this forever. The mistake was believing I'd stay quiet while you stripped my trust fund. The mistake was forgetting that I'm your daughter too, not just another failed investment in your portfolio. Father slumps against his mahogany desk, suddenly looking old beneath his executive polish. You don't understand the pressure we were under. Mason's business school tuition, the firm's expansion, save it for the SEC. I turn to leave, then pause. Oh, and happy birthday to me. Finally got my ROI after all. Outside in the executive corridor, Sophie hands me the salvaged financial documents, her hands shaking. What now? My phone buzzes with a text from Gran, documents secured with my securities lawyer. Your grandfather would be proud of your due diligence. Now, I say, watching my parents' silhouettes in the glass-walled office, we make them face every investment they've ever manipulated. And we do it together, without a single golden parachute in sight. The spring wind whips around us on the plaza outside Hayes Investment Group Tower, carrying away the smell of burned documents and corporate lies. For the first time since my birthday party at the Ritz, I feel truly, completely unfettered by their financial chains. The Goldman Sachs summer internship celebration invitation sits on Lily's IKEA coffee table like a loaded prospectus. I've been staring at it for an hour, the embossed logo catching the afternoon light. This year's host, Mason Hayes. It's perfect, Sophie says through my phone speaker. Every major investment banker will be there. The whole financial world will have to face what they did. I trace the embossed letters. Mason's hosting at the Hayes Lake House. That's where your grandfather signed the original trust documents, Gran finishes, her voice joining Sophie's on the conference call. Harrison won't expect you to know that detail of the family portfolio. My hands shake as I pull out the trust fund statements. Have either of you told Mason anything about the offshore accounts? He came by my office yesterday, Gran says, hesitating. He's different. Asked about you, about the real reason you left Hayes Investment Group's orbit. The doorbell rings. I freeze, but Lily's already opening it. Mason stands there, looking uncertain in a way I've never seen him without his Goldman Sachs polish. Can we talk? He glances at my phone. Alone? I end the call, nodding to Lily as she slips into her bedroom. Mason sits across from me, his eyes falling on the financial papers spread across the IKEA table. I found some interesting documents in Father's executive suite, he says quietly. About my Mercedes, my Stanford tuition, your missing trust fund. How much do you know about the transfers? Enough to make me sick. He runs his hands through his hair, that nervous tick breaking through his investment banker facade again. I swear, Autumn, I had no idea. I thought the firm was just more profitable than they let on. They were, with my education fund. I'll liquidate everything. Pay it all back. I've already talked to my private banker about this. This isn't about the money anymore. I meet his eyes. This is about years of financial manipulation, about them grooming you to be their perfect Wall Street heir while treating me like a bad investment, about them destroying evidence when they realized I knew about the trust fund fraud. He picks up the Goldman Sachs invitation. That's why I'm hosting. I want you there, Autumn. Help me make this right. Make it right? I laugh, but it catches in my throat. You can't just write a check and balance this ledger. No, but I can help you expose them. His voice drops to a whisper learned in corporate boardrooms. Father's been moving money through shell companies. Not just your trust fund. There are other accounts, other families involved. Aunt Carol's kids' college funds, Uncle Steve's venture capital investments. My heart stops. How deep does this fraud go? Deep enough to destroy Hayes Investment Group, to destroy them both. He pulls out his phone, showing me screenshots of offshore banking statements. The lake house party, it's not just an internship celebration. Father's planning to announce his retirement, transfer everything to me, his company, his reputation, his financial schemes. I study my brother's face, looking for any trace of Wall Street manipulation. Why are you showing me these securities violations? Because you're my sister. Because I was too blind to see what they were doing to you. He swallows hard. Because I need your help to stop them before they defraud anyone else. The Goldman Sachs invitation seems to pulse with new meaning. The entire financial elite will be there, everyone they've ever stolen from, everyone they've lied to. Mason's hands clench into fists. Help me end this, Autumn. Not just for you, for all their victims. I stand, walking to Lily's window. The street below is filling with evening commuters, people heading home to their normal families, their uncomplicated investment portfolios. If we do this, I say finally, we do it my way. No warnings, no chances for them to hide more evidence. Agreed. Mason stands too. But Autumn, there's something else you should know about grandmother Eleanor. My stomach drops. What about her? She didn't just find those documents last year. She's been tracking their financial schemes for decades. He hesitates. And she has proof that this started before we were even born, with our real inheritance, the one our grandfather never meant for father to control. The pieces click together like a perfect investment strategy, Gran's careful questions over the years, her subtle financial support, her determination to keep me independent of Hayes Investment Group. The Goldman Sachs party's in 2 weeks, Mason says, heading for the door, his Goldman badge catching the light. Whatever you decide, I'm done being their corporate puppet. After he leaves, Lily emerges from her bedroom that's barely bigger than father's executive bathroom. Well? I pick up the invitation, feeling its weight like a prospectus for revenge. Call Sophie and Gran. We need to move faster than a high-frequency trading algorithm. Are you sure about trusting Mason? He's still wearing their golden handcuffs. I think about his nervous tick breaking through his banker veneer, his screenshots of offshore accounts, the sick look in his eyes when he realized what his success had cost. No. But I'm sure about one thing, this just got bigger than my trust fund. The invitation catches the last ray of sunlight, glinting like a Bloomberg terminal before a market crash. The Hayes family lake house looms ahead as I drive up the private road, its floor-to-ceiling windows reflecting the setting sun like warning signals from the SEC. 3 days until the Goldman Sachs party, and my hands won't stop shaking. Mason's Mercedes is already parked out front, along with Gran's vintage Jaguar. I find them in Father's home office, surrounded by financial documents and laptops. Gran looks up first, her face tight with worry. It's worse than we thought, darling. Mason turns his MacBook toward me. Father's been routing money through tax havens for years. Not just family trusts. Corporate accounts, client investments, everything. The screen shows a maze of transactions that would make a forensic accountant weep, each one leading back to familiar names. Aunt Carol's children's education funds, Uncle Steve's failed startup investments, Cousin Thomas's medical trust. He's built his entire empire on misappropriated funds, Gran says quietly, her fingers tracing over investment reports. Your grandfather suspected the fraud, but could never prove it. That's why he tried to protect your trusts. My phone buzzes with a text from Sophie. Uncle Harrison just stormed out of Hayes Investment Group. He knows something's wrong with the books. Be careful. We need to accelerate our timeline, Mason says, running his hands through his perfectly groomed hair, his Goldman Sachs confidence cracking. He's already initiated transfers to Cayman Island accounts. Once those clear, he'll disappear with everything, including the evidence. I finish, thinking of burned documents in his executive suite. Gran touches a stack of financial statements. There's something else. Your mother, she's not just complicit, she's been the architect of all this, the accounting fraud, the cover-ups, the trust fund manipulations. Every fraudulent transaction bears her signature. The Lakehouse office spins slightly. I grip the back of a leather executive chair, feeling the smooth material under my fingers. All those times she dismissed my career choices, she wasn't just favoring Mason's Wall Street path, she was protecting their financial scheme. Autumn, Mason's voice sounds strange. There's more. Look at this. He hands me a document dated 21 years ago, my birth certificate, with an attached insurance policy. A life insurance policy, in Mother's name. She took it out the day you were born, Gran whispers, her professional composure slipping. $5 million. Payable only if I died before 21. The words taste like overpriced corporate coffee. That's why they threw Mason's Goldman Sachs party on my birthday. They were celebrating that the policy expired, that they didn't have to. The home office door slams open. Mother stands there, her Chanel suit immaculate despite the panic in her eyes. What are you doing in Harrison's private office? Victoria, Gran starts, but Mother cuts her off with the precision of a hostile takeover. You've poisoned them against the firm, haven't you, Eleanor? Filled their heads with lies about Hayes Investment Group. The only lies here are in your financial statements, I say, holding up the insurance policy. Were you disappointed when you couldn't cash this in, CFO Mother? Something flickers in her eyes, not guilt but frustration at a failed investment strategy. You don't understand what it takes to build a legacy in this market, to secure a position in the financial world. Every decision was carefully calculated. Mason stands, his face pale beneath his Goldman Sachs polish. By defrauding our entire family and your clients. Everything we did was for you, Mason, for your future in finance. She steps forward, reaching for him with manicured hands. We can still protect the firm's reputation. Just help me gather these documents and we can fix. My voice cuts through her corporate speak. Every word you say just proves what you really are, what you've always been. And what's that? Her smile is sharp as a margin call. A financial predator who saw her children as assets, nothing more. She laughs, and it sounds like breaking IPO records. Oh, darling, you have no idea what real market sharks look like. But you will. She pulls out her iPhone 15 Pro Max. Harrison, they're here. All of them. Yes, with the documents. Of course I'm sure. Implement contingency plan B. The line goes dead, and Mother's smile widens. You have 30 minutes to leave this property and forget everything you've seen. After that. She shrugs elegantly. Well, unfortunate accidents happen at lake houses, even to failed investments. You're threatening us? Mason steps between her and me. Your own children? Your own assets? I'm protecting our market position, as I always have. She turns to leave, then pauses. Oh, and Autumn, happy belated birthday. Such a shame you won't make it to next quarter's earnings call. After she's gone, Gran grabs her car keys. We need to move these documents now. Get everything to my car. But I'm staring at the life insurance policy, something clicking into place like a perfect trade execution. No. We stay. Autumn, the Goldman Sachs parties in 3 days. Every major player in finance will be here. I meet Mason's eyes, seeing my own determination reflected back. Let them come. All of them. It's time they saw what real financial predators look like in the daylight. Gran touches my arm. And if your parents follow through on their threat. I pick up my mother's forgotten iPhone, left deliberately on the mahogany desk. Then they'll have to explain a lot more than missing trust funds to the SEC, because I just recorded every word about their contingency plan. The lake house windows darken with the setting sun, no longer reflecting warnings but promises of justice. In 3 days, everything changes, one way or another. The Hayes Investment Group's final trading day is about to begin. The lake house fills with Wall Street elite as evening falls, their chatter about market positions echoing off the walls like accusations. I stand in the corner of the great room, watching Father work the crowd with his practiced CEO charm. Mother floats between investment bankers, her laugh just a touch too bright. Mason hasn't arrived yet. Quite the turnout, Sophie whispers, appearing at my elbow. Aunt Carol's been crying in the powder room, something about Thomas's medical trust being completely drained. My phone buzzes, a text from Mason, delayed. Someone broke into my Goldman Sachs office. All the financial documents are gone. The marble-floored room suddenly feels too small, too warm. I slip onto the lakeside terrace, gripping the custom-built railing until my knuckles turn white. Another buzz, SEC investigators are here. Father's name came up in their initial probe. Problems with the party? Mother's voice makes me jump. She stands in the doorway, backlit by the crystal chandeliers, looking more hedge fund shark than parent. Such a shame about Mason's office break-in. These things happen when people don't properly secure their assets. What did you do to his evidence? She sips her Dom Perignon. I'm just a devoted mother, celebrating my son's Goldman Sachs success. Speaking of which, your father's about to make his big announcement to our investors. You wouldn't want to miss it. Inside, Father taps his baccarat crystal glass for attention. Distinguished colleagues, valued investors, thank you all for coming to celebrate Mason's achievement at Goldman Sachs. But I have an even bigger announcement for the market. The crowd of financial elites murmurs expectantly. I scan the room. No Gran, no Mason. My chest tightens like a margin call. As of tonight, I'm officially stepping down as CEO, Father continues, and I'm proud to announce that Mason will be taking over as Chief Executive of Hayes Investment Group. Applause breaks out. Uncle Steve raises his glass, his smile strained. To Mason. Though some of us are still waiting on those venture capital returns you promised, Harrison. All investments mature in due time, Father says smoothly. In fact, I have some prospectuses here that should interest several of you regarding your portfolio positions. He reaches into his Mont Blanc briefcase and pulls out a stack of documents. My heart stops. They're forgeries. They have to be. The real financial records are gone, stolen from Mason's office. Autumn. Mother's hand closes around my arm, her Cartier bracelet digging into my skin. Why don't you join me in the executive study? We need to discuss your future position with the firm. Let go of me, now. Dear, her grip tightens like a bearish market, before you disrupt our investor relations again. The executive study door clicks shut behind us. Father's already there, along with 2 men I don't recognize in their Seville row suits. Meet our risk management consultants, Mother says. They're very good at handling volatile assets, like breaking into Mason's Goldman Sachs office. Father sighs, adjusting his Patek Philippe watch. Mason made his investment choice. Disappointing, but manageable. You, however, He nods to one of the men, who moves to block the Brazilian walnut door. You've become a liability we can no longer hedge. The life insurance policy expired, I say, backing away from their closing ranks. You can't, oh, darling, mother laughs. There are so many ways to write off losses, especially at lake houses, especially after excessive champagne at investment celebrations. A crystal flute appears in her hand, my fingerprints all over it. Your DNA, your history of emotional instability regarding the firm, your recent erratic behavior. The second consultant steps forward, something glinting in his hand like a bear market signal. My back hits the mahogany paneling. Why? My voice cracks. I'm your daughter. No, father says quietly. You're a failed investment I should have written off years ago. The door bursts open. Mason stands there, his Goldman Sachs polish disheveled, blood on his Hermes tie. SEC agents are on their way. I triggered the silent alarm when I saw your risk management team following me. Mason. Mother starts, but he cuts her off with the precision of a bearish trade. Save it. I heard every word about your asset liquidation plan. He holds up his phone. And so did the SEC investigator who's been tracking Hayes Investment Group's fraud for the past year. Sirens wail in the distance. The risk management consultants exchange glances, then slip out a side door like capital flight before a market crash. Father's face contorts with Wall Street rage. You ungrateful, he lunges for Mason. I move without thinking, grabbing the heavy Bloomberg terminal paperweight from his desk. The impact drops him to his custom Italian loafers. Mother screams, but it's drowned out by the sound of breaking glass and shouting from the great room. Gran's voice rises above the chaos. The real financial statements are being projected on the wall right now. Every fraudulent transaction, every misappropriated trust, every offshore account. Father struggles to his feet, blood trickling down his Temple Group tie. You've destroyed everything we built. No, I say, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. You did that yourself, years ago, when you decided market capitalization was worth more than your children's trust. The sirens grow louder. Mother backs away, her perfect CFO mask finally cracking. Harrison, the Cayman accounts are frozen. Along with every other asset, Mason finishes. Blue lights flash through the investment-grade windows as SEC vehicles fill the circular driveway. I look at my parents, really look at them, and feel nothing but pity for their failed financial strategy. Happy retirement, father, I say, and walk out to face whatever the market bears next. The great room erupts into chaos as the projector displays decades of fraudulent financial records across the accent wall. Aunt Carol collapses into an Eames chair. Uncle Steve hurls his Waterford crystal across the room. Investment bankers I haven't seen since childhood start shouting about breach of fiduciary duty. Father stands frozen at the front of the room, his retirement speech forgotten. Mother's perfect CFO smile cracks like a bubble market. Those statements are clearly manipulated, she announces, but her voice wavers like a volatile stock. This is nothing but a desperate attempt by our disinherited daughter to what, mother? Tell the truth. I step forward, Mason at my side. About how you defrauded everyone in this room, about the life insurance policy you took out on me, about how you were willing to eliminate your own daughter tonight to protect your market position? The room falls silent. Even the SEC agents who just entered pause, hands near their badges. Every investment decision. Father starts, then stops as Gran walks in, carrying a familiar Mont Blanc briefcase. Is that what you told yourself, Harrison, when you forged your father's signature on those trust documents? She opens the briefcase, pulling out yellowed financial statements. Or when you and Victoria orchestrated my husband's accident after he threatened to expose your initial fraud? Mother's corporate composure shatters like a crashed IPO. You can't prove, actually, she can. Mason's voice is cold as a margin call. Grandfather's original toxicology report, the one you buried, the one showing deliberate stock manipulation in his system. Father lunges for the briefcase, but the SEC agents are faster. As they read him his rights, he locks eyes with me. You ungrateful asset, he spits. We gave you every opportunity. No, my voice doesn't waver anymore. You stripped every asset. My trust fund, my education, my future. You even tried to cash in on my life. We were protecting the firm's legacy. Mother shrieks as an agent approaches her with handcuffs that clash with her Cartier bracelets. Everything was for Hayes Investment Group. Was it? I gesture to the room, to the devastated faces of investors and family. Look around, Mother. Look at all the portfolios you've destroyed. The college funds you emptied, Thomas's drained medical trust, Uncle Steve's decimated venture capital, all so you could build Mason into your perfect Wall Street successor. I never wanted that position, Mason steps forward, ripping off his Goldman Sachs badge. I never wanted any of it. Mother's face twists like a manipulated market. Then you're as worthless an investment as she is. All our careful planning wasted on planning? I laugh, and it sounds like breaking free of golden handcuffs. You planned nothing but fraud. You stole, you lied, you killed. And for what? To feel powerful, to play market maker with other people's lives? You don't understand what it takes to maintain market position, Father says, echoing Mother's words from earlier, but now they sound hollow as an empty trading floor. I understand perfectly. I pull out my phone, playing the recording of their threats in the study. I understand that you're not parents. You're not even human. You're just empty portfolios, so afraid of losing control that you'd liquidate your own children to keep it. As the SEC leads them away, Mother turns back one last time, her CFO mask crumbling. This isn't over, Autumn. Firms like Hayes Investment Group don't air their financial discrepancies. No one will believe your audit. Everyone already believes the numbers, Sophie points to the windows, where financial news vans are pulling up. The whole fraud is going live on Bloomberg right now. Every misappropriated fund, every threat, every crime. Father slumps in defeat, but Mother struggles against the federal agents. You've crashed everything we built. No, Mother. I watch as they're led away, feeling nothing but a profound emptiness where blind trust once lived. I've freed everyone from your Ponzi scheme, including myself. The room buzzes with shocked conversations and SEC interviews. Aunt Carol hugs me, crying about finally being able to restore her children's college funds. Uncle Steve talks with the investigators about recovering his venture capital. Thomas's mother thanks me through tears for exposing the truth about his medical trust. Mason touches my arm. You okay? I don't know. I look around at the wreckage of our family's financial empire. Are any of us? We will be. Gran appears beside me, her eyes fierce with the pride of a true fiduciary. Your grandfather would be proud, darling. You've done what he couldn't, exposed the fraud. The truth, I repeat, tasting the word. It feels different now, less like revenge and more like market correction. What happens next? Next, Sophie joins us, linking her arm through mine. We rebuild. But this time, on a foundation of real value. Through the windows, I watch my parents disappear into separate SEC vehicles. The financial empire they built on fraud crumbles behind them, but in its ruins, I see something unexpected: hope. Not just for me, but for everyone whose trust they betrayed. The lake house stands silent, its investment secrets finally exposed to regulatory light. And in that light, I find something I never expected to feel: true market value. The federal courthouse steps feel colder than they should in spring. I watch my parents being led away in handcuffs, their designer suits replaced by standard issue orange. Mother doesn't look back. Father does, just once, and in his eyes, I see something I've never seen before: the recognition of total loss. The court's decision to freeze their assets means everyone they defrauded will be compensated, Mason says beside me, his voice steady without its Goldman Sachs polish. Thomas's medical expenses, Aunt Carol's kids' tuition, Uncle Steve's startup capital, everything. Almost everything. I touch the envelope in my pocket, Gran's final revelation. Did you know she'd been auditing their schemes since before we were born? That she'd been secretly securing assets for both of us? He shakes his head. She protected our interests in her own way, just like you protected everyone by exposing the fraud. Inside the envelope, photographs show a younger version of our grandmother standing beside our grandfather at the lake house. Their smiles are genuine, untainted by the greed that would later corrupt our family's portfolio. I found this in Father's executive vault. I hand Mason a letter, its edges worn like a well-traded bond. It's from Grandfather, written the day before his suspicious death. He knew about the fraud. He was going to report it to the SEC, and they eliminated him for it. Mason's hands shake as he reads, his market analyst composure cracking. All these years, we both thought their investment strategy was legitimate. I take the letter back, feeling its weight like a bearish indicator. But Gran knew. She audited, gathered evidence, protected our assets until we were ready to face the truth. A familiar voice calls out, "Autumn." Lily runs up the courthouse steps, waving a Wall Street Journal. "You need to see this." The headline reads, Hayes Investment Group Collapse, Whistleblower Daughter Exposes Decades of Financial Fraud. Below it, a smaller headline, Eleanor Wright's Silent Audit, How One Grandmother Protected Future Generations. There's more, Sophie says, appearing with her laptop displaying SEC filings. Other investors are coming forward, other firms, other victims. Your parents' fraud scheme went beyond just Hayes Investment Group. And now they can't manipulate any more markets, I say, but the victory feels different than I imagined, hollow, yet somehow fuller. Gran joins us, her silver hair catching the sunlight like a bull market signal. Your grandfather used to say that true wealth isn't built on market manipulation or fraudulent gains, it's built on trust and integrity. I thought this was about revenge, I admit, about making them pay for devaluing me. But it was never just about my portfolio, was it? No, darling. She takes my hand with the steadiness of a true fiduciary. It was about correcting a systemic failure, about choosing what kind of legacy you want to build. Mason stares at the courthouse doors. What do we do now? The firm, the assets, everything they built through fraud. We rebuild, I say, surprising myself, not their way, with manipulation and deceit, but honestly, with true market value. With integrity, Sophie echoes, linking arms with me. The whole family, acting as proper stakeholders. Lily hugs me tight. See? I told you your real worth wasn't measured in their metrics. But as I look around at these people, my brother who chose ethics over Goldman Sachs, my grandmother who conducted her silent audit for years, my cousin who risked everything to expose the truth, my friend who valued me without any ROI, I realize something. I didn't find my worth, I say quietly. It was here all along, in the family I chose, the people who invested in me for who I am. An SEC investigator approaches with one last affidavit to sign, my final statement about the case. As I take the pen, I notice my hand doesn't shake anymore. Autumn, Mason says suddenly, look. Through the courthouse windows, I see the lake house in the distance, its windows no longer reflecting market manipulation but possibilities. And beside it, almost hidden by trees, a small building I never noticed before. Your grandfather's old trading office, Gran explains, where he kept his real records. There's something there you both need to see, something about your true inheritance. More financial secrets? I ask, but without bitterness. She smiles, and it holds both market wisdom and hope. No, darling. No more hidden assets. Just truth. And perhaps a different kind of wealth to build. The spring breeze carries the scent of new beginnings as we descend the courthouse steps. Behind us, justice has been served. Ahead, something else waits, not an ending but a market correction. I take one last look at the Wall Street Journal headline, then let it blow away in the wind. Some stories don't need to be written in financial papers. They're written in the choices we make, the truths we face, and the investments we choose to make in each other, even when, especially when, they don't show up on any balance sheet. The Hayes Investment Group tower stands silent against the Manhattan skyline, its glass facade no longer reflecting power but accountability. And in that reflection, I see not the daughter they tried to write off, but the woman who finally understood that true value isn't measured in dollars and cents, it's measured in the courage to stand up for what's right, even when the market seems against you. Sophie catches my eye and nods toward the future spreading out before us like a fresh ledger, clean and full of possibility. Ready for this? I think of my barista job at the daily grind, of my writing dreams, of all the honest paths ahead. Yes, I say, and for the first time, I truly mean it. Time to invest in something real,